If you are not legally protected in your business, you are leaving money on the table. Hey, I get it. The legal side of business can feel intimidating, but the good news is it doesn't have to be. If you want to build your business on a strong foundation, and if you want to know that your rights are protected when the unexpected happens with a client or a customer, then it's time to get legally protected. This means no more using free contracts that you downloaded off of the internet. This means partnering with a law firm that actually believes in your vision and can help you achieve it. This means legally protecting your brand so that no one can steal your good ideas. There are a lot of ways to grow and scale, but if you want to grow a strong business, it's time to get legally protected. If you're listening and resonating with this, then my signature service, the Legal Upgrade, just might be perfect for you. The Legal Upgrade is a straightforward, structured process to give your business the legal protection that it needs to thrive. Click the link in the show notes and schedule a call with me today. Hello and welcome to the Legal Upgrade Podcast. I'm your host, licensed attorney Christian Hammond. This podcast breaks down the legal side of business to reveal key legal strategies that can help you take your business to the next level. Please note that none of the following is legal, tax, investment, financial, or medical advice. Without further ado, let's get into the show. Should you name your business after yourself? Is it a good idea for you and your business to share the same name? If you are new, welcome. My name is Christian Hammond. I'm a licensed attorney based in Washington, D.C., and I serve clients nationwide, helping them with trademarks, copyrights, and staying legally protected. And if you're joining right now, thank you so much for joining. Feel free to put your questions in the comments as we work along today. And I will try to make sure that I see your questions as you're asking them. But this is a question I get a lot as a trademark attorney. Should you name your business after yourself? Is it a good idea for you and your business to share the same name? And I think there's a variety of reasons why people might choose their own name as their business name. Sometimes I think it's just the first thing that they thought of. Sometimes it's what's expected in their industry. If you have a law firm, if you have a doctor, a dental practice, or if you are a doctor in private practice, or if you are in certain types of, say, construction companies, there might be kind of an expectation or at least a convention around naming your company after yourself, around naming your construction firms, so-and-so and sons. There are just these conventions, there are these traditions, and so that might be a reason as well. And then lastly, I think sometimes people choose to use their own name, or they're at least thinking about it because they're thinking about legacy. And they see this business as part of their legacy and as part of their family's legacy. So there can be a variety of reasons why someone might choose to name the business after themselves, or why they might choose to make the business their namesake. And clearly, it is often a successful strategy. There are tons of businesses where the business either has the founder's first name, the founder's last name. Sometimes they share the entire name with the founder. There are plenty of examples and successful examples of businesses who have done that. Everyone from Ben & Jerry's, Anheuser-Busch, Abercrombie and Fitch, Bang & Olufsen, Barclays, Barnes & Noble, Giorgio, Armani. These are all businesses that have, again, their founder's first name, the last name, or sometimes they share a full name with their founder. So clearly, this can be a very successful strategy. This can be very good from a branding perspective. It has been done. It has been done successfully. Now, that being said, there are some misconceptions around naming your business after yourself. There are also some pitfalls to be aware of if you choose to name the business after yourself. And I see your question, and I will definitely get to that at the end of this section. So hold your question. I will definitely get to that. But yes, there are definitely some pitfalls. There are some misconceptions. There are some things you need to be aware of if you are going to name your business after yourself. And I want to go over 3 of those things today. So, the first thing I want to cover is a misconception, because I have seen that there is a misconception that if you are using your real name as a business name, that if your business is sharing your real legal name, that you don't really need to worry about trademark law. There is this misconception that obviously I should have a legal right to use my own name. There is a misconception that if I am using my real, true government name, the one that's on my birth certificate, that I have this kind of inalienable right to use that name as my business name. People think, well, trademark law does not apply to me because I'm using my real legal name. And that is not true. Just because it's your real legal name does not mean that you automatically have the right to use it as a trademark. And so, as an example, let's say that your real government legal name, like your true last name, is Walmart. If your true government last name is Walmart, and you decide to open a store selling a variety of home goods, I can pretty much guarantee that you are going to get a cease and desist letter from Walmart Inc. And they have every right to do that because Walmart Inc., Walmart, the company, already owns that trademark. And it doesn't matter that that's your real last name. It doesn't matter that that is your legal name on your birth certificate, because somebody else already owns the trademark. And so regular trademark rules apply, even if that is truly your name. There's not a special set of laws just because it's your name. And because regular trademark rules apply, this means that if somebody else beats you to the punch, if somebody else registers your real name as their trademark before you do, well, then somebody else just became the presumptive legal owner of that trademark in all 50 states and also in the US territories. That's a nationwide federal level right. And so even if it's your real name, normal trademark rules still apply. And if you want to legally own that name at the federal level for business purposes, you would still need a registered trademark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And this is why you'll see celebrities, you'll see Jay-Z and Beyonce, you'll see different celebrities registering their children's names as trademarks. And there might be a variety of reasons that they do that, but I'm willing to bet that one of the reasons they do it is because they don't want somebody else to be able to trademark their child's name. So they're taking that preemptive step and they are locking it down in advance so that somebody else can't get to it. So the first point that I wanted to cover is that even if you're using your real on your birth certificate name for your business, regular trademark rules still apply, which means that if you want to be the exclusive owner, you need a trademark registration. And it also means that if somebody else got there first, you might not be able to use it as your business name, even though it's your legal name. So that's the first misconception that I wanted to clear up, because I see that one out there all the time. Now, the second thing I want to talk about flows really nicely from that first part, which is if you're thinking about using your real name as your business name, the second thing to think about is, can you actually get that registered as a trademark? Now, you might be sitting here thinking, okay, wait, Christian, you just said that if I want to use my name as a business name, I need a trademark. And now you're saying maybe I wouldn't be able to get it trademarked? Yes, because in the United States, there are rules about what can and cannot be registered as a trademark. And there are rules around if you are able to get that registered, do you get on the principal register or do you get on the supplemental register? So let me take a quick sidebar here. Here in the US, when you go to get a trademark, there's actually two options. There's two different registers. You can be on the principal register, which, as its name suggests, that's the better one. That's the one you want to be on, if at all possible. Or you can be on the supplemental register, which not as good as the principal register. Still better than not having a trademark at all. So, given the option, taking the supplemental is still a good idea. But the supplemental is definitely the second choice. If at all possible, you definitely want to end up on that principal register. But there are rules for who gets to be on the principal register. And basically, those rules are to be on the principal register, you need a trademark that is truly distinctive from a legal perspective. And one of the rules is if the trademark is primarily merely a surname, say that 3 times fast, primarily merely a surname, that generally speaking is not going to be allowed on the principal register. What does that mean? That means that if you want to use your last name as a standalone trademark, if your last name is Johnson and you want to name your business Johnson, you're going to have an issue if you're going to try to do that. Because here in the United States, Johnson is typically considered to be a surname. If I see the name Johnson out there, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to think, oh, that's somebody's last name. So that's what that means. It means that if you have a last name, Johnson, Williams, Smith, Jones, many, many others, Garcia, if you have a last name that in the United States, from the United States consumer perspective, is generally recognized or perceived to be a surname, the government is not going to let you register that as a trademark on the principal register. Now, there are exceptions to that rule, as there are exceptions to every rule when we're dealing with the law, but this is the general rule we're going to stay at the general level today. You're not going to be able to get that registered as a trademark, at least not on the principal register. Now, you can step down and take that registration on the supplemental register, but you're not going to be able to get up here on the principal register. Now, if you don't want to end up on the supplemental, there's very simple solutions to that. You could use your full name instead of just the last name. Or you could, add other words to it, spice it up a little bit, beef it up a little bit, turn it into more of a longer phrase, 2 words, 3 words, whatever you want to do. So there definitely are things you can do if you want to get your last name in there, but you don't want to end up on the supplemental register. And, for most of us, we have last names that are common enough that we probably cannot trademark just our last name. So that is something to be aware of. If you want to name your business after yourself, if you want your business to be your namesake, if you want to share a last name with your business, consider, can I get that trademarked on the principal register? And if not, do I need to do some things to make sure I can get on the principal register? Because again, that's where the maximum, yes, I see that question. Yes, that's where the maximum benefit is. The maximum protection, the maximum coverage, the maximum benefit for a trademark is being up on the principal register. Now, like I said before, the supplemental, that is still a trademark registration. That is still better than nothing. So given the option, supplemental is not a bad choice, but principal is the best choice if you can get there. All right. So that is the second thing I wanted to talk about, considering, can you get a trademark? Can you get a trademark if you and your business have the same name, if you're thinking about using your surname, your family name, your last name? Now, the last thing that I want to talk about, the last thing to be aware of if you name your business after yourself, is what happens if you sell it, or what happens to your descendants or your children after you're gone. And so the first thing I want to tackle is that descendants part. So if you have a business and that business survives past you, this is a business that keeps going after you are gone, and you have named the business after yourself, one thing to keep in mind is that potentially is going to affect your children or your descendants who come after you. Now, if your children want to run the business, if they want to be involved in the business, that's amazing, because you have already gotten the trademark for them, you've locked it down, you've secured it, that's been taken care of, and that's awesome. The flip side, though, is what if your children don't want to be a part of the business? What if your descendants don't want to be a part of the company that you started? And what if actually they want to do their own thing? Well, they might be prevented from doing that, because your company, that company that you started, is going to own the trademark, which means if your kid wants to start a competing business in the same industry, that trademark is already taken. To give an example of this, there's a lawsuit going on right now. Walgreens, the company, is suing Charles R. Walgreen, the person. Now, Charles Walgreen is the great grandson of the founder of Walgreens. So that is legit his last name. His last name legitimately is Walgreen. But guess what? Walgreen, the company, actually owns the trademark. So when Mr. Walgreen tried to, currently is running a business and trying to sell healthcare related products, Walgreens, the pharmacy, Walgreens, the company, sued him for trademark infringement. And they have every right to do that because they own the trademark. They own the trademark for the company that his great grandfather started. So this is something to keep in mind. Again, if your kids, your descendants, if they want to be part of the business, if they want to work in the business, that's perfect, because you have a registered trademark ready to go. And when you have passed on, it's already been taken care of for your children. Amazing. The flip side, if they don't want to be a part of the business, then it might prevent them from using their own last name in their branding. Now, maybe that's fine, because maybe you don't want your descendants setting up companies that are going to compete with the company that you built from the ground up. So that's your prerogative. There's no right or wrong, but that's just something to keep in mind. Again, if you are choosing to use your true name also as the name of the business. And the other side of that, talking about the other side of things, what happens if you sell the business? What happens if you exit the business and the business is named after you? Well, if you name the business after yourself and you sell it, well, that buyer isn't just buying, they're not just buying the clients and the customers and the website and the shop. They're buying the branding, which means they will be buying your trademarks, which means that if your trademark is your name, they are buying the right to use your name. And that means that you won't have the right to use your name anymore, most likely. The example I want to use for this is Jo Malone. Jo Malone is probably best known for their fragrances. They're a fragrance company. But Jo Malone, the company, was started by a real person, and her name is Jo Malone. And I don't know if you know her story. It is really amazing and impactful. I'm personally obsessed with the podcast, How I Built This. And if you are curious to know Jo Malone's story, you should definitely go to her episode in How I Built This and listen to the whole thing. But part of her story is that she has this incredibly acute sense of smell. And that incredible, just kind of natural gifting is part of what allowed her to develop the amazing fragrances and part of why her business became so successful. But also part of her story is that she was diagnosed with cancer, and the chemotherapy treatments actually destroyed her sense of smell. And she ended up selling her company, Jo Malone, to Estee Lauder. Now, sometime after chemotherapy, her sense of smell actually came back. And she wanted to start a new fragrance company, but she had sold her company, Jo Malone, and she had sold the trademarks, so she couldn't use her own name to start this new company. Now, thankfully for Jo, everything turned out fine. She has a new brand now. It's called Jo Loves. And so everything turned out fine. But I just want to highlight this as an example. Keep in mind that if you name your company after yourself, if you and your business share the same name, but then you sell that business to somebody else, you will also be selling your trademarks, which means you will be selling the right to use your own name in business. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, but it's just something to be aware of as you're deciding how you want to brand your company. Another example of this is Bobbi Brown, very well-known cosmetics company. Bobbi Brown was started by a woman who is named Bobbi Brown, and same thing, she sold her company. She is no longer able to do business under that name. Similar to Jo Malone, she now has a new company called, I think it's called Jones Road Beauty. But she is no longer able to use her name for business, even though it's her name. So just something to keep in mind. If you choose to go that path, if you name your business after yourself, there will potentially be implications for your children, for the people who come after you. And there will also be implications if you end up selling, if you end up exiting, and somebody else ends up running your namesake business. All right, that is all that I had for you guys today. I want to go back to a question that was asked at the beginning of this live that says, I have an idea for more than one business. Should they be under one LLC? And this completely depends. There's no right or wrong answer here. And there are a couple different considerations. And so first, can you run multiple businesses out of the same LLC? Sure. There's no problem with that. You could have 3 different businesses. You could give them each a different DBA and run them out of the same LLC. Not a problem. So I could have, I could have a cosmetics side of the business and call it Great Cosmetics. And I could have a bike shop and call it Great Bike Shop. And I could have, I don't know, a coffee bean line of the business and call it Great Coffee Bean. And from the public's perspective, those are 3 different businesses with 3 separate names, but actually they are simply DBAs, doing business as, but they're actually run out of the same LLC. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, whether or not you want to do that is a different question, because if you're running multiple things from the same LLC, then that could mean they all have the same bank account. That means that contracts you've signed for our hypothetical coffee company are contracts that our hypothetical bike company is liable for, which means that if one side of the business goes down in flames, takes on a lot of debt, or has a major lawsuit, then my other arms of my business are also being sued, or they're also in debt, or they're also, impacted by financial troubles. And so there can be reasons why sometimes it's a good idea to separate businesses from each other, especially if one of the businesses is going to be particularly risky. So the answer to that question is that what is the right thing to do? It depends. You should talk to your business lawyer, or you should reach out and talk to me. But is there anything wrong with it? No. Is it always the right choice from a risk and business perspective? Not necessarily. So it depends on the situation, depends on what kind of businesses are going to be run out of that LLC. All right. I don't see any more questions here in the comments. So that is all that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. The Legal Upgrade Podcast is a Bevel Law production. For more information about the Legal Upgrade, you can follow on Instagram at Bevel Law or find even more information on the website bevellaw.com. If you enjoyed the episode, please remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. See you next time on the Legal Upgrade Podcast.